Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome everybody back to another video. So I've been meaning to make this one for a while, but we're now getting around to it. These are going to be the top 5 best weapons to use in the new Zombies Outbreak mode. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions recently about what are the best weapons to take you to higher difficulties in higher ways with an Outbreak. The cool thing about this game mode is there's genuinely reasons to run different sorts of weapons and weapon types and also attachments on those weapons, and they all have their different uses and functionality. So today, I'm going to give you guys a rundown of the top 5 best overall guns to use in Outbreak and how you can play them most effectively. Also, to give back to you guys a little bit for the gracious amount of support on the channel, I am going to be giving away 2,400 COD points to one of you in this video, and all you need to do to be eligible is simply drop a like on the video, make sure you are a subscriber on the channel, and let me know in the comment section what your favorite gun in Outbreak is. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the top 5 best guns in Outbreak, what makes them so effective, and how you can use them in the best way possible. So coming in today at the number 5 spot might surprise you a little bit, and interestingly, I'm going to give this to the Street Sweeper shotgun. This is one of the shotguns that you either have to obtain via a bundle or you can unlock it through some challenges in multiplayer, but either way, the Street Sweeper behaves really interestingly in Outbreak. A couple things I noticed when playing with this weapon in this mode is that it completely changes its functionality and viability as soon as you pack-a-punch it, because its non-normal, non-upgraded vanilla version takes about literally 8.2 years to get a full reload in, but as soon as you pack-a-punch it, it starts reloading multiple shells at a time. If you combine that with Speed Cola, it's even easier. The cool thing about the Street Sweeper is that it does a ton of DPS, just a ton of damage in a very, very short amount of time. The other side to that, of course, is that you're going to be out of the action while you're reloading for a good couple of moments. Now, again, when it's pack-a-punched and when you have a proper attachment in Speed Cola, you can minimize that time where you're out of the action, but it still exists, and it's not amazing. If it weren't for the absolutely ludicrous reload time, then I would think the Street Sweeper is actually a lot more viable than people give it credit for, because it's also one of the easiest shotguns to use as it's full auto. You can just hold it down and you have a very, very large magazine to work with in most cases. In my opinion, the Street Sweeper is significantly more viable in co-op modes where other people can be putting out damage for you and covering objectives while you cannot, while you're out of the action and reloading, and you know, other teammates can help pick up the slack, and then you can come in with the Street Sweeper with very short bursts of energy and absolute sheer incredible damage that this thing puts out. And I also, as far as attachments, I am going to recommend the damage increasing barrel. That's pretty much the only thing I really think you should run on this. But either way, if you are running shotguns in Outbreak, give the Street Sweeper a try. It's pretty good. It's maybe not the best and it may not be your favorite, but it's certainly worth giving a go, and then especially try it in co-op modes to see if it serves you any better than it has before. Now, moving on after that, coming in at the number 4 spot is going to be another shotgun, and this is going to be the GALLO. Now, this is another one of the more popular shotguns in the game, typically a one I see ran an Outbreak quite frequently, but I do think it has pretty much the same consistency as the Street Sweeper without really any of the weaknesses. It doesn't boast the absolutely insane magazine like a Street Sweeper, but it's just more consistent damage output without, you know, those long breaks in action. And depending on your particular challenge, what map you're in, and whether you're playing with teammates or not, sometimes that is literally the difference between life and death. As far as recommended attachment setup, it's going to look something like this. Now, I'm going to recommend that you use attachments to tighten up the pellet spread. I'm going to recommend that you use the barrel that increases the damage, and then also increases its magazine size and effectiveness capability over there too. You don't really need to worry about things like aim down sights time and sprint to fire time, things like that, because you're not going to really be ADSing that much anyways. With this gun, your best bet is to put out as much damage as physically possible in a very pinpoint and accurate location, and with this attachment setup, you can do just that. I think this might go without saying at this point, but I am going to recommend, if running this weapon, you have the Elemental Pop perk, as well as Deadwire upgraded to Tier 5, because it makes all the difference in the world. Applying the Deadwire ammo mod to your shotgun is arguably one of the most necessary things you have to do in Outbreak in order to make your weapon as effective as it can, especially your primary shotgun. It's also important to keep in mind that even with the Street Sweeper or the GALLO, because you're using these very up-close, effective range weapons, you are going to need something for relatively long range, or things that you can hit from a distance, and to be honest, these weapons just don't really get the job done in that regard. The Gallo's got a bit more range compared to some of the other shotguns in its class, but it's not really anything too crazy, nothing to write home about, and certainly not as dramatic as it could be, so you will need a secondary that has a fair amount of range in order to pair along with it. Also, another quick tip, having Deadshot fully upgraded to tier 5 is very, very underrated because landing consecutive headshots will increase your damage output further up to a maximum of 20%. Now, I don't know how that exactly works with the individual pellets that this weapon shoots, but for what it's worth, when I use this without Deadshot and with it, I feel like I can definitely tell the difference if I'm going for headshots. Against boss enemies, this thing is probably about average tier. It is really good, but there are better options, especially ones that you can help take bosses from a distance, which we'll get to in a moment. But the Gallo has to come in at the number 4 spot, a very solid and reliable weapon. Maybe not the utterly best in the world, but definitely never a bad call. Moving on from that though, and coming in today at our number 3 spot is going to be the Ray K assault rifle. Now, I love and despise this weapon all at the same time, and you might be asking yourself why that is. I literally think the Ray K is the best and worst gun in the game all at the same time. The biggest strength the Ray K has is its secondary fire mode that slows all of the zombies within its radius, and this is absolutely clutch in things like holdouts, and then even when escorting the rover, you can slow zombies around it and then, you know, have more time to effectively take them out. The problem with the Ray K is that it is absolutely pitiful against armored panzers specifically. It does extend to other armored enemies as well, but when it comes to like megatons or mimics, the Ray K can melt them from a distance pretty effectively, and I actually think it's really good in that case. But against like panzers and those kind of armored enemies in particular, when you know, bust their front armor and try to hit those sweet spots with other bullet guns like shotguns and deal pretty huge amounts of damage, the Ray K just for whatever reason can't do it. And I'm not sure if this is a bug, if it's a glitch, or maybe I just can't shoot. Ray K's biggest strength is that it is effective in most enemy types and in most cases against all enemies, but in a lot of situations as well, it's just not effective at all. And again, in my personal opinion, this weapon is very situational. There are certain challenges with an Outbreak where I feel like the Ray K is better cut out for some other ones, and it's probably the best in holdouts, and especially with co-op, you can have one person slowing down the enemies while the rest of your teammates, you know, deal damage and take them out and keep you safe. On solo, it's certainly a good secondary and is very good to pair alongside something like another shotgun that you can use to deal more damage and hit those sweet spots on panzers and the other enemies for that matter. All in all, the Ray K is a really, really good weapon. It's not too hard to obtain so long as you survive long enough, and it's got a ton of uses. I know I'm making it sound kind of bad, but I promise you it's definitely one of the best guns in the game, and that's why it's on this list. But I would be remiss if I didn't include some of the weaknesses that it has too. So use this weapon with caution, but I'm not telling you to not use it at all. But moving on and coming in at the number 2 spot is a wonder weapon I think has less weaknesses. This is going to be the ray gun. So the standard ray gun has pretty much the opposite problem that the Ray K does, where it's very good in holdouts and, you know, but it's not great against panzers. The standard ray gun pretty much is just the polar opposite. It's really, really good against armored enemies and panzers. It actually can take advantage of those sweet spots that it has, as well as all the other enemy types. It's a very like precision weapon that in a lot of the challenges is going to reward a steady hand and smart play. However, you do not have the added benefit, of course, of being able to slow down enemies, so that is one downside. But in my opinion, this is my go-to wonder weapon. This is the one that I always gravitate towards. Now, I know that there are other players that prefer the Ray K or sometimes even the Die Shockwave, and fair enough. I just think that when you look at Outbreak as a whole and all of the challenges you're going to be going up against, as well as all the enemy types, you take all that into consideration, the ray gun is going to be the best wonder weapon as far as its overall utility. It may not be the best in every circumstance and really isn't that good at all in high round holdout locations, but it will be pretty much the best call for everything else. That isn't to say the ray gun has its flaws as well. It definitely does, but again, overall utility and just looking at it from a backed up perspective, the original ray gun probably has to be the best wonder weapon and is the one that I always seek after whenever I'm playing Outbreak, but I don't think it's quite the very best gun in the game. Coming in at the number 1 spot, this may or may not come as a surprise to you, but the HAUER shotgun upgraded score, the Orion is easily the best gun in the game currently. If you're going for an extremely high round with an Outbreak, odds are you're gonna want to run the HAUER at one point or another, and I get asked on stream and just generally in videos all the time about what my HAUER setup is like, and I'll give you a recommended class setup. In my opinion, the key things to have on this is a very tight ADS spread as well as hip fire. You also want the barrel that increases your damage. Of course, that makes all the difference in the world on this HAUER. You're also going to want everything as far as ammo capacity and reload time to be as quick and efficient as possible. So the attachments that I have in this video, I am going to strongly recommend. Again, you can experiment with these and see if there's a certain setup you like better, but this is generally what I run, and I have really no complaints. It gets the job done, and it does more than that. It's extremely effective in its own right. The HAUER is the best gun to use against pretty much any scenario you're going to run into an Outbreak. It's wonderful for holdouts. It's really good for defend objectives, for escorting. It's good for literally anything. Obviously, the only thing it cannot do is range. So in my opinion, pairing this with a ray gun, using that to deal with panzers and other armored enemies, and then everything else literally up close can be taken on by the HAUER. It's got a quick enough fire rate. The damage output is well more than enough to take you into higher rounds. Simply put, in my opinion, is just literally the best gun in the game right now, and there's really no denying that. But anyways, guys, that is going to be the top 5 best guns in Outbreak right now. Let me know your thought about my list down below in the comment section. Is there a weapon that you feel like I missed that should have been on this list? If so, let me know what that is down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like rating, subscribe if you're brand new, and I also stream zombies almost every single day over on Twitch. If you want to come say hi and hang out with me in the chat while we continue to play zombies, then go check that out. Link is in the description below. Make sure to go follow over there. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you all for watching again, and I'll see you guys in the next stream or the next video. Take it easy. I gotta go, and peace out.